Thank you everybody for having me. I'll keep the sharing short so that we will have a little bit more time for discussion. And I try to remain calm because it's the first time that I'm doing this to a very different audience altogether. I'm Ching Kai. Don't ask me why I started off the hard way when I was doing graphic design. I didn't join a design agency. I decided to start my own business with a good friend of mine. So later you will hear a lot of plural in the sense that we, as opposed to I. So instead of joining a design agency to learn the ropes from people more experienced, we started off very noob and from ground zero. A birth of creative, we needed to be client servicing. We need to deal with clients. We need to handle the downstream of production. And we also need to ace pictures and presentation. I started off doing something for a friend who is a musician and composer. And then very quickly, he introduced me to SLO, or Singapore Lyric Opera. Then from there on, then I began to do a lot more works for the theater scene, as mentioned in the introduction. So over the last 10 odd years for doing in the performance scenes, we have prolific works. You see works and then very quickly we move on to do more things. The thing about me is that I never really let one piece of work define me or to become my signature. I always move on and I always feel that we can do a lot more beyond what I do. So even though the works were prominent and I receive a lot of accolades for certain iconic works at different events across, but I never really let it sit in my mind for long. I'm only fortunate because the works are very prominent and visible. They are out there everywhere. So after a while, they became synonymous with my name. It's just that I just let it pass and not cloud my mind. Except I want to talk about one campaign, which is Turando. When I was a design student in Temasek Poly, I used to go to, and back then, the internet wasn't so exciting and resourceful. So I used to go to the design library to look at one particular book in the red label section that you cannot borrow out. And it is a black and white book. And I always flip to that page featuring the Met Opera's production of Turando. There are a lot of production of Turando up to this point, but the Met Opera is the most classic. And after so many decades, it is still a classic. I don't know why I was so captivated, because as a Singaporean, I had no idea what Italian operas were. And so it is, and it still is foreign to me. But for an Italian opera, or as we say colloquially, Angmo opera featuring Oriental cast, it's very alluring for me. Growing up, I've always been somebody who is very, very big on ancient Chinese culture. I draw scores of their costumes, headdresses, and the settings, the palaces, and I'm very captivated by especially that of Tang Dynasty. So as a design student who is doing graphic design, doing Turando, as in checking out Turando in the library is really something that kept me going. And then several years passed when I emerged as a design practitioner, when SLO approached us to design for the marketing collateral of Turando. I obviously jumped on the opportunity. I just want to keep things short and save the deeds by saying that back then they were very poor, the budget was very low. Okay, budget is still very low now. Okay, this is a common refrain. They were very poor. You cannot believe how poor we were. They had no female lead yet at the time of selling tickets. No production designer yet. They didn't know how they wanted it to be. And no models. This is my friend. So we asked her, and she said yes. No money for photo shoot. Can you believe it? And no money to rent a studio. We went to their rehearsal studio of SLO. We shot ourselves. We went to IKEA to go and buy a lot of desk lamps because we had no money to rent equipment. This boy that you see beside her is her brother. So the brother became the wardrobe assistant, helping her to wear, because sister so can anyhow touch, for example, right? And it was a record, it was an experience, and we had everything in place already, except that SLO asked, hey, then the headdress how? And I said, I settle, I can make. Then they said, you use what I make. Then I said, use paper law. And then they, And obviously, I shouldn't have said that. But then I said, you trust me, that was like after like 2-3 years of working with them. So they know that if I say I can deliver, I will deliver. The thing is that I've never done it before, but I just decided to do it. And it was for free. I mean, the job wasn't free, but there was no additional cost that we could impose on them to say that I want to do headdress, and then you give me another what, $1,000? Because they had no budget. No budget was the overarching theme here. But to me, it was not SLO taking advantage of me. It was me taking advantage of the opportunity to be able to do something. It was a nationwide campaign for me to flex my muscles. I've never done it before. It will be very scary if I lost it, if I did a bad job, because as prominent as they are, you do good, people will see it on the bus stop. You do bad, it will also be on the bus stop. And people will keep on looking at it and say that this is a terrible piece of work. So of course, I'm not allowing myself to go there. So when I finished shooting Toronto in 2008, I really felt that I came full circle. But I didn't realize that after so many years, after we forget about Toronto and all these things, all the fanfare, the decision and the courage to step up to say that I can do something I've never done before, but I'm going to do it damn well, has seeded the mind and the heart of a creative who was just starting out, that we can do more things in the future beyond what you are comfortable with. In a recent interview, somebody asked me, what would I label myself? Is it designer, photographer, or what? And the thing is that I never really knew what I want to be like. This is just me, right? It's not about everybody else. So this is just me, that I don't want just to be one thing. I give due credits to everybody who wants to be one thing and be very good at that one thing. It's fine. But for me, I always want to be unsure. I always want to not be defined by something, so that I don't need to be locked in. Sure, I can be the best designer for a particular production, for example, but that will only stay in up to the point of me completing that piece of work, that design. I cannot keep on using it to move on for the rest of the decades to come. And so I resonate with this quote by Oscar Wilde a lot. And as a result, I'm always restless, and I always want to do more, do new things. Of course, along the way, you will hone your craft. You will hone your art, or anything that you do for that matter. It doesn't have to be creative. But I'm always restless. And so that's why in 2018, I decided to just do Paper Empress. Paper Empress became my pet project, my personal project, because I was very bored of my creative life. As you can tell, I was already pretty not bad at what I do at work, but I was bored, and I decided that I should stop drawing and sketching those Tang Dynasty women and should start to get my hands on some material and start to make something. I had no idea how to do it. I was not an arts and craft person on a daily basis. I don't have the right tools. I don't know how exactly it will be, but it doesn't matter. Let's just try, because I decided that not to wait for an opportunity, don't wait for an invitation, don't wait for people to ask. Just try. If I don't try, I'll never know. The most I cannot make it and I fail, and then it's still a personal thing. But if I do make it, it will be an added incentive, not to my accolades, but to myself as a human being. So of course, designing the costumes, headdress, all these things are made of paper. So yeah, so the challenge is not about making costumes. The challenge is using paper entirely from the hair, the crown, the headdress, and of course, after a while, I didn't want to just do costumes and headdress. I wanted to develop into a story. So you start to see things like props, interior architecture. They are all made of paper. So all the food that you see over here, the feast, and of course we go big or go home, right? So why do one dish when it's the royalty? So do the entire table of like a buffet, like a feast. There were also beyond the palace, we wanted the palace mates to be able to go outside and unwind. And then so I came up with the idea of a cafe. Then how to do cafe, how to do coffee machine. So just go and check it out and experiment. There was a royal yacht that will travel, as in like a ship that will travel. So there was the interior, the bridge of the ship. So I was also designing the console for the bridge of the ship. And of course, then small little miniature like cakes and whatnot. And beyond Tang Dynasty, I also wanted Paper Empress, this entire project, to be on a parallel universe. So they live almost together with us at the same time. So they also underwent COVID, which was the entire thing that the whole world was just talking about. So the Empress Dowager had to do ART tests. And for people who don't want to be vaxxed or don't want to wear masks, then they have to wear cone of glory. Things like that we can never put it out on our mainstream media. The government can never say that. But I choose to say that, not because I'm against the anti-vaxxers, but it's just a fun way, a fun proxy. And when the royal yacht sailed to the Lion Kingdom, it passes through this ceremonial gate, and then they will charge ERP. So Singaporean followers who get it is a if you know you know moment. And as an excuse to make like an exquisite paper Birkin bag for Her Majesty, I decided that all people who go for the second boosters will get a bag. Well, of course, not everybody gets a Birkin. She gets a bag. The rest of the people will get a paper bag. And it just went on and on. And Paper Empress was really it was and it is still my pet project. It wasn't meant to make myself even more famous. I say this matter of fact, not as a prideful moment. It's because I've already established myself creatively in a certain industry, not entirely lah. So I needed something to spur myself on, to fill the reservoir inside me to want to do other stuff. But I guess when you start doing something and you consistently want to do it well, at the right time, give some time. At the right time, with the right people, people will start to recognize you and will start to see your works. I remember there was one morning just before I went onto an online meeting, my mother sent me a video on WhatsApp. It was me on the Channel 8 morning show. And I had no pre-warning. Even myself, the producer didn't tell me when it would be aired. And so when my mother sent me that, it was her watching the morning shows. Because who watched the Channel 8 morning show? Not even me, but of course my mother does, right? And then suddenly she saw her son come on TV. So she quickly whipped out her phone and just took the video of the TV screen for as long as the video lasted. So of course, media coverages is maybe a form of recognition for a creative. But like I said, it was at best media worthy because it's interesting to the media. I was like looking back and considering that if back then in 2008, when I was doing Toronto, it was me coming full circle. I never realized back then, I really felt that it was full circle. And a circle is, don't have hit, don't have tail one. So it's just closing loop, right? And you're just done for already because, it closes the loop and we can move on. But it wasn't a circle, it was a it was a foreshadow, I realized, for more things to come. And maybe for this, it is, for example, the Paper Empress. And in between Toronto and Paper Empress was a good 10 years. 10 years is like a long novel, and then in between 10 chapters, suddenly the foreshadow, it was like one chapter, as in 10 chapters ago, there was a foreshadow. And then 10 years later, something happened. And knowing that this can happen, or this has happened, it gives me full faith and confidence that we can do a lot more, not just one thing. And once again, I said, and I'm restless to do more. So when the Supper House approached me to showcase Paper Empress, they gave me a 6 TV panel, high definition panel. So it's very big to showcase the Paper Empress. And I was like, I don't want to just showcase the Paper Empress like that. Maybe I make an animation out of it. I've never done animation before, so I don't know how to do, but it doesn't matter. I just try, move, And I also didn't want to showcase Tang Dynasty women in their costumes that made of paper. I don't need people to say that, wow, this is made of paper. It's so impressive. I wanted this to be a chance to talk to the public, because this is part of Singapore Art Week 2023. So public will come and see. And beyond marveling at the world of paper art, I use this as an opportunity to talk about the issue of dementia. So it was a very good moment where we had very long discussion about this issue, as well as, of course, for people to appreciate that these are all made of paper. What's interesting about this collaboration was that it is not paper anymore, because it's on pixels. So the discourses were interesting, because then it is animation at first look. You go up close, because it's large TV screens times 6 across. So you go up close, you can actually appreciate the edges, the rough edges of the paper, the texture of the paper. So there was a lot of things, and it was all very exciting. When Keiki, the dessert shop, approached me to design their serveware for a high tea set that consisted 7 small cakes, I pitched the idea of eating cakes of art and eating cakes with art. And they said, how? I said, of paper. The entire thing will be made of paper. Then they said, but it's food. There'll be grease and people will stain it. I said, no, that's why the fragility of paper itself is exciting, because then you will become precious with it. Then why people stain? Then you know that you actually stain an artwork. The concept of which is exciting, because it's not just paper is paper, food is food. You cannot put these things together. Or art is art, food is food. When you put things together, it challenges the customer to approach food and the art that is being served on in a very different dimension. And so that part also enlivens my mind as a creative. Icon Magazine, as part of their anniversary issue, which is launched just yesterday, approached me to design a spread of 10-page featuring high-end luxury jewelry. And they gave me free rein. And so the art direction was Chinese ink painting. So because of that, then I decided to use washi paper, and I hand painted with Chinese ink. And it's once again interesting, because the conceptual collaboration was, is it now paper only, or is it painting? Because I painted on the paper. But I painted on the paper to assemble into a scenography that is meant to evoke a sense of Chinese ink painting. So you paint on paper, to use paper to make something that is supposed to look like ink painting. Once again, there is a lot of things, to talk about. Of course, the target audience, who are the Tai who will already afford all this 6-figure jewelry, it doesn't matter lah. The jewelry is beautiful, kind of already. But for me, it is important for me to not just fish things out from my archive, from my arsenal, and just that, now I've done this, now you all use this to go and shoot. I wanted to recreate and make new things over and over again. And this year, as part of an art movement called Walk, Walk, Don't Run. I was invited by the studio to teleport my workspace over to theirs and to open doors to public who could come and get up close and personal with my paper crafts, and they could even touch some of them. And once again, there were also lengthy discussions. It is really my personal belief, and it was also a fuel that art shouldn't stay at home. As in, my art shouldn't stay in on my table. It shouldn't stay at home. It should go out. It should go out and meet people, talk to people. If I don't explain my art, I don't explain why I want to use paper to serve cakes on. Why is it that I bothered to go and dye all the paper? We will just see, to us, even to myself, we will just see a beautiful piece of work. It's beautiful. It's really very beautiful. That's all. At best, is that, wow, it's ingenious. But it doesn't pique one's mind or even spur one on to say that, well, if he can do this with paper, then I'm sure I can do something. I don't know, make a new dish with the same ingredient. It can be anything. So, of course, once again, I'm restless, and I think that opens up a lot more opportunities, first and foremost with myself, to go and do it, to go and do more things. To wrap up, I want to say for Paper Empress, it is always meant to be a pet project. And people ask me, do you plan to monetize it? How do you want to commercialize it? Or people even ask me, do you sell the Empresses? And I was like, no, and I don't want, because it's very niche and it should always be like one of its kind in the world. And I never knew that Paper Empress, from my passion and love for Tang Dynasty culture, and I do headdress and costumes only, would open up my world to what you are seeing right now, beyond just dolls. I will leave you to this quote, which once again I resonate very well with. I think while we look back and see all the works that are done that are prominent, that were on marketing campaign collaterals, there are a lot of them that are very powerful, and if I name them, people will know what they are, but I never kept them. As in, I never kept that in my mind. You do a good job, you launch it, and then you lose it. You forget about it, keep it away, stow it away, keep it out of sight, out of mind. Don't keep on thinking that I am the designer who designed LK1 musical, because that will be a 5-year ago thing, that will be a 10-year ago thing, that will be a 20-year ago thing. For all the good feeling that we get receiving compliments for others, that also keep it away, stow it away, keep it out of sight, keep it out of mind, keep it out of earshot. And the shelves of medals and trophies also lose it. Only when we have lost all these things, then we are free to keep on doing anything that we want. Thank you. We can do Q&A. I'll take any questions. What do young people need to know to do what you do? Okay, I'll just be very candid. There's a lot, but I think in life, at least from my point of view, in life, things are not so linear. We are brought up in an education system or a social system whereby things are mostly linear growing up. Maybe not anymore, but when I was for mine. So in order to get into secondary school, you need to complete your primary school education. Okay, so you understand what I'm going for. So you want to be a designer, then you must first get design training. This is not really true in many other parts of the world. Ours is a young country that has get up to mark quickly. We need people in this industry, so we need to provide the background for education, for training. We still are like that as a country, but I feel most of the time it's not like that. Most of the time you really need to see things from a linear point of view. You just be very open about it and be very willing to put in the hours. All these beautiful things that I create and people see on the outset, there are a lot of nights and a lot of difficult times to not give up. When I started on design business, we started on nothing. Granted that I had design training. That was at best just training. When I came out as a fresh grad, I only knew how to use design software. The idea of coming up with great concepts and everything were all honed on the job. I think how to get there is not difficult. How to get there is quite straightforward. How to thrive and get really good at it's a reflection of who you are as a person. If you can do good in this industry, you can do good in many other industries, by and large lah. So of course now for young people, sorry, to answer the question, go get design education. Even though I say that it's linear, but other parts of the world, people who are very talented, if they don't have such exposure and opportunities, they can never do it. So if we have people in Singapore then go and do it. But starting from education onwards, as in starting from education, don't give up too easily. When I was a design student, I was very bad. I wasn't like that. My peers were damn good. I think, yeah, and my GPA, which I don't care about now, but back then we measure things by points and grades and scores. I guess some of you still do with children. They are very long past me already. So just don't give up and keep on doing very well. How big are my dioramas? My emperors are about this size. The body is the size of a Barbie doll. The head is about this size, so it's quite hefty actually. So it matches because the size of the body is like a Barbie, so the hand is so small. So the goblets and the cakes that you see are also so small. But the headdress, which was what I was big on, can be big because the head is big. So yeah. How old was I when I started Paper Empress? 2018, so I was 38. Are the dolls made by me? No. So the doll is a Blythe doll. Blythe doll is a cult which I had no idea. I want to use Barbie doll, but I thought that the head was too small. A friend who is an avid collector of Blythe doll came to my house and she showed me her collection, and I was like, wow, the head is just nice, can make into something that's big. Barbie doll, very small, you can't go crazy on the ornaments. So the doll is Blythe doll. I mean, when I first started out, I was leveraging a lot on Blythe doll. I'm very glad that after some years, like 5 years, nobody look at my dolls and think that they are Blythe. It's already embodied a character of its own. Have I ever regretted doing design? No, never. I'm very fortunate. I know what I want to do, and whatever that was given to me, I always put my best foot forward, not to earn compliments and praises from people. Those are byproducts. But it is just in me that if you want to give me something to do, right, even for example, this particular sharing, I want to do it very, very well. For my own sake, regardless of who comes and who comes to attend. So I don't regret ever. How much can I earn in this job? Sorry, I'll do the Felicia one later. I'll just answer the how much can I earn in this job. But there were some jobs that were really very low paying, and there were some years when I was struggling. Right now, I think thankfully I have reached sort of like the compounding phase, not in terms of money, but the skills and the attitude for people to see my worth and to pay me a lot more. So I can do things without being worried about money, but it really varies. Plus, the art scene is very poor. So if you design for art scene, you cannot expect to get paid for it. But in the commercial world, in advertising agency, of course, you can get paid pretty handsomely for this. Okay, I'll do the Felicia questions. For people who have been struggling for what seems to be too many years, how can they know what is wrong? I think no man is an island. I hope this answers. But I think no man is an island. Is always important to surround ourselves in good company. Of course, social, you can have your own friends. They don't have to understand what you do. To my mother, I'm her son. That's all she cares about. no matter how prolific I am out there, right, to her is immaterial one. I just need to be a son. So to a partner, as a husband, as a wife, just be that. But when we talk about professional upbringing, we really need to expose ourselves and to surround ourselves with that. So if you enjoy watching K-drama, for example, but for sake of your professional development, you should also watch beyond K-drama, for example. Instead of the friends that you want to go for high tea with, also mix around. Go into the environment. It's always a lot more eye-opening when we mix with people beyond ourselves, beyond the comfort zone. How long does it take to make one doll, entire outfit and headdress? I am very good at doing headdress, so that's not hard. What is hard are things that I'm not trained in. Architectural models, I'm not, so I start from scratch. Doing things very, very small, goblets and not organic, those are short, but usually for one scene, one post that you see on Instagram, usually is just a couple of days. The ideation is hard, which means to come up with the idea. Because just to make another crown, make another phoenix is not hard, but it has got no meaning to me. She has got like 20 over crowns. Showing another crown is pointless to me. I always want the story to be engaging. Ideation of the story is hard. The angle of the story is hard. So I guess this is the part of the commercial design that I am doing comes in. It helps to bridge between fine art, craft, and communication design. Let me quickly do Elijah's first about sources of inspiration. I thought I was only inspired by Chinese culture, but because I was already such a Chinese buff 20, 30 years ago, so I think it's already quite there. I'm very inspired by fashion brands like Dior, MS. I'm not a fashion person. I look at the right way pieces are, it is like, okay, very beautiful, haute couture. But Dior and MS like to showcase how the artisans create some parts of the dyeing process. They go to some villages of India to do reverse woodblock dyeing for their latest show in Mumbai. And MS, for their silk scarves, they actually got found in Kyoto, rural part of Kyoto, a Japanese family who uses wax to assemble together, to use that wax, colored wax, to print. Y'all can YouTube it. So it's not just print. We could, but the artisans, push and do a lot more than just print or design on computer, which is what I do as a day job. And all these things, all these people willing to go down to the nitty-gritties and not to buy ready-made materials from Art Friend, for example, is very exciting for me. And I thought that, why am I like buying colored stock paper, paper? I used to do that, but I told a fellow artist that maybe for the Icon magazine shoot, I want to paint on the paper so that I get different tones of the green, like, how light falls on a pasture, on a grassland, we see different tonals. And I never really got down to doing it because I was lazy, then can buy paper, off paper, house, or fancy paper. But then this time I decided to do it, and it was very exciting because the way that it happens. And so design houses like Dior, Chanel, MS, what they do inspires me a lot. Was there a time that I broke a paper piece? A lot of time, because we need to take photo. So the way that I handle her, sometimes I do this for her, and then I think I really handle her because I just said, just move hand over. And then sometimes I might break a bit of her gown because everything is made of paper. So it's fragile. The experience is still real to me because I interact with her not in a creepy manner, or rather I interact with the material that she is wearing. What was my hardest project? Very cliche, hardest project is one that is yet to come. Once you complete it and you don't give up, then it's not very hard. The Birkin bag was hard because it was very small. It's very small to hand cut because the Birkin bag it's the size. Let's do size comparison. iPhone. So the Phoenix is really very small, and there's no way to do anything about it. And this bag, the concept of this bag is that if MS were to offer my Paper Empress a bag, then what would they offer? Nobody really cares about the real estate of the bag, like how much like space the bag needs to contain diapers or whatnot. She's not going to carry anything in her bag conceptually, right? So why don't we hollow out the inside of the bag? The entire real estate is given to a scenography of a golden phoenix emerging from the mountains. You all can't really see it, but everything is all the way in, can see on got mountains and everything. And I also challenged myself by really looking up and studying on how an MS Birkin bag actually look like. So actually, rightfully, is can open, as in, I don't know whether you can see that. Okay, so everything to the clasps and everything is made of paper, but from a design point of view, it is really like the design template of an MS bag. So these are hard, but it's very exciting to have completed it. To own this bag as a creator is not as exciting as I know deep down that I've done it, and then I can continue to do more if I want to. At which phase of my work require a member, or you went for lessons? Oh, sorry, that require a mentor. This is a very good question. Starting out as a junior designer, let's not talk about the Paper Empress because I'm where I am now. In terms of craft, I'm at a master level. But when I was junior, as a graphic designer, the bar was very weak, very lousy. The standard of work is not weak. What is the issue with the modern world where things are so instant and gratification is so instant? Is that people have very little patience to put in the hard work. So when I was young, there were a couple of projects that I really was very bratty. I blamed the whole world for a difficult brief. Looking back, it's because I'm not good, and I secretly hope for an easy way out. I went to a photo shoot. That was after a couple of shoots that I was the art director for. And I was very young. I went to a photo shoot and I thought that since I could wing it for the first few times, maybe I don't need to plan so much. It's very untrue. The more experienced and the more master level you are, the more you plan. I spent two days writing this and rehearsing time to make sure that it's well within half an hour for the PowerPoint slide, so that we got half an hour for Q&A. And I thought about all these pointers when I was out for a run. And the moment I ended the run, I was drinking my coffee and I went to take notes. But rewind back to when I was a junior designer, I went to a shoot with the entire production team, with Dim Sum Dolly's people, and without any preparation. The photographer gave me a dressing down. I swore to myself that I must never be scolded for the same reasons ever again. So from then on, I do prep work, a lot of prep work. So to me, all these people who drop in and out of my lives, they are my mentor. Yeah. Sorry, I'll answer do I take interns for my job? Offhand, no. Almost never, I think. Sorry, I shan't say never. But I think it's hard to to be guiding somebody who is doing this. I mean, but there are also talks with other spaces whereby when they open up a studio proper and me being on the panel of, not discussion panel, but panel of advisors to go down to the studio to guide people. I think I am open towards such things. How would I advise parents to guide their children creatively? I have no idea. I think what we are, I can only say from I don't want to sound highbrow, but I can only say from a gift. Everybody has a gift. to be honest, I suck at some stuff. I'm really not good at some stuff, right? So that's not my gift. It's just that this looks sexier, more fun in a way. I guess we just need to open our eyes. If the child is creative, it can be creative in a lot of ways, that not just like craft making or can draw. The way, the approach that they do things. I don't know, you give them some corn and then they can spin something out beyond what we can do. Then we know that they are creative. And creativity, I think, is essential. And you can hone it and then you can develop it. Honing is one thing. Hone is inwards, and develop is outwards. You continue to flourish it. So to guide a child who has got potential, or you feel that will have potential, exposure law, bring them to. When I was young, my parents, who knew nothing about art, they brought me to art exhibitions, because the people who knew better said that he can do art. You should bring him to art exhibitions. So go art exhibitions. Go for classes, for example. But it is in the mindset of going to classes. Go classes, learn. Don't need to be a master lah. Just go there and do and enjoy and have a good time and mix around with people. See how people draw the same things. What made me want to make paper dolls? When you have drawn a good 38 years of Tang Dynasty women out from scratch, then you start to ask yourself, can I stop drawing and start making law? That's all. I think the fact that it was a personal pet project, that I didn't, because I'm not, hey guys, hey world, I'm going to create Paper Empress. It wasn't like that, right? So it was like, let's try to make. And then also not say that you are supposed to make for a production, for a TV series, for Netflix. Then it's very scary. I'll say that, then I cannot let. But just do lor. How would I wish that I could have been educated? I think from my personal experience, my education had no problem. It was me. As a design student, I really wasn't serious with what I was doing. I was doing many other stuff and anything but paying attention to being a student. Yeah, it was very bad. So if you ask me on a personal level, what would I have revisited? Do better, lor. But I never felt that, like, damn it, like I should have like done a better job as a design student, because I felt that at every part, every stage, every step of our lives, of our past lives, every part is essential for molding who we are in time to come. So even if that particular part of my life was not good, near failure, that was also part and parcel of learning. Of course, I had the good fortune of not failing entirely and not end up, I don't know, somewhere else in dissolution. Then I can say such things that I feel. But personally, for myself, no part of my life in the past would I think I need to make better or redo. If anything at all, what I really questioned was my attitude towards things, not so much of external factors. What do I see is the future of design in Singapore? We are in an age when, I'll answer Jonah's question in a bit. We are in an age whereby we have where resources and things are abound. For myself, going onto the internet to learn things, to discover one thing, to know how to get to not get a template, but to go and see enough Birkin bags online to templateify it, to make into this, is already there. So the design scene would definitely be a lot more vibrant because of the exposure. But that doesn't mean that everybody will be very, very good. So those who are very good are those people who are willing to put in the extra hours and the effort. And this is perennial across eras and exposure. 100 years ago, there are only these few who will put in a lot of hard work. And 1,000 years later, there will only be these few in each era, each age, who will put in a lot of hard work. So having the platform, having the stage does not mean that you will thrive. But always strive to thrive. Always strive to not be mediocre and be safe, I feel. How do I make paper empress figures and dioramas? Use paper. So use paper and make cut and assemble. Sorry, this is a terrible answer, but I really don't know how better to say things like, for example, this is an incense burner. This is made of paper. So I cut, it's a piece of paper. I cut, think of a way that architecturally it should like turn and form, and then make joineries. So measure out, make this part, the charcoal is also made of paper, for example. Just make or try. You use one material, you find that it doesn't really look like, then try another material. Always keep your eyes open to seeing how things can be better done in a way. Wow, glue. Okay, this is worthy to answer, not from a technical point of view. I think the first time when I started doing the first few dolls and props that I did, very easily I use double-sided tape. Double-sided tape is the most unreliable adhesive ever. I use double-sided tape on the hair paper, Then next day I wake up and then all the hair open up. So it was terrible. White glue is actually very, very good along the way. And last year then I realized, like, I'm so well exposed and so old enough, but then I realized that why didn't I go and talk to architecture student who makes architecture models, right? So there is this Yoo-hoo glue grade. So, and then when I talked to this person who was architecture trained, he's obviously not a student anymore. The next time when I saw him, he actually bought me a tube. So, and just cliche, stay hungry, stay foolish. So you thought that I always know how to use one grade of glue, keep on talking to people, plus the fact that the glue industry is always trying to make up new glues to sell to you. So it's not one glue that is good like 2 years ago means that 2 years later there will be better grade of glues. Okay, thank you, Grace, for the endorsement. Woohoo, or not Yoo-hoo? Okay, fine. When was the last time I made a paper doll? I just remade a paper doll. If you go up to, this is not selling Goyo moment, but if you go up to to the Paper Empress on Instagram, you'll see that the Empress Dowager got a remake. And I think the remake is important. If you excuse me for half a minute, let me show you the before and after. Last time because the content is not to be shown to people, the content is online. So it's for the sake of photography. So this was the old one for the Empress Dowager. Everything in front is beautiful, but everything at the back just doesn't make sense. So of course, after many years of being not bad at my art and craft, I decided that, okay, the front shall be beautiful and then the back shall also be beautiful. So everything is 360. This was recently done and I'm actually very, very, very proud of it because as an Empress Dowager, which is the Queen Mother, you give all limelight to the monarch, who is the Empress. But so I want the idea of in front is very simple, but the more you pay attention to the back, you save all the limelight to the behind. The behind is very drama. So this is a latest job and I really like this. And compared to this, once again, this is development as well as honing of the craft and the art, I think. Do you use acid-free or no? This is the art part. To me, whenever I start to wear things on them, the washi paper are very fragile and they are prone to wrinkles. And in Singapore, when it's very humid, you start to see the way that paper behaves differently. At the end of the day, I don't cherish the dolls more than I cherish the experience of understanding that, hey, paper actually behaves in this manner. And to me, this lasts because one day dolls would also perish, for example. But now I know that how paper actually behaves with the environment, and all these things are exciting to me more than that I have created them. Most of them, they are behind doors of the cabinets. So I don't really, I won't say I want to use acid-free paper because I want to preserve. but I want to use paper for the sake of understanding how it is and to push the limits of what it can do.
Do you have any other issues that you would like to bring up in your future art projects?
I will have an upcoming joint show in June, and it will be very loosely speaking, because nothing is really very anchored right now for me conceptually, but I'm talking about conservation, preservation of cultures, and whitewashing of them. Not whitewashing from the government, it's whitewashing of an entire era. We look at something and we whitewash by not paying attention to it, or just like walking past it. So when we pay for people to preserve and conserve certain culture elements, but on a daily basis, we don't pay attention to it. So this is something which I want to discuss for my next work in June.